Hey, good morning, everybody. No, this is not a TED Talk, but I'll call it a steering wheel talk. How many of you folks out there do some of your best thinking while behind the steering wheel and you've got a little drive time in front of you, right? I know I do. On my way back out of Anthem right now, we just closed a week or so ago with some buyers in the Anthem area, and having some landscape work done on the property. So I had to meet the landscapers up there. But I wanted to talk about buyer apprehension and what we're seeing in the market out here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. There's a lot of chatter about, is the bottom coming and so forth, and should we wait, and I'm hearing this from quite a lot of buyers, but I'm also equally seeing the exact opposite behavior from the other half of our buyer pool. Those that when we start looking at the data, we start looking at the statistics of what's going on in the Phoenix market area. April was had the highest sales in the Phoenix metro area this April since 2022. So that's a pretty compelling data. March was higher, February was higher, January was higher. And what this really sort of speaks to is, the Phoenix metro area is still growing like crazy. You've got 5 major tech firms moving into Arizona here in the next few years. The TSMC plant up in the Deer Valley, Carefree area, or north of Deer Valley, has spurred a lot of growth. And typically the range was, anywhere from 90 to 115,000 people moving here on a yearly basis. And those numbers are still strong. So, we've got clients that were out looking at properties a week ago that lost a property because they were outbid on a house that was listed for $750,000. And when it finally went into contract, it went into contract at almost $800,000. So there are pockets in the Phoenix metro area that are still not only performing well, but performing in a multiple offer scenario. So it's really difficult for me as an agent, and my wife and I, when we're listening to buyers, they're like, well, we want to wait, and we want to wait to see if the market cools off a little bit. And I just, it's not my place to tell you when to buy, of course. But I certainly feel like those that are savvy and those that are paying attention to the market and, drilling down on the granular data are understanding that there's a ton of opportunity right now in pockets of the Phoenix metro area that have been sitting on the market for a little bit of time, maybe properties that need a little bit of work, that aren't as polished and ready to go. That seems to be the trend, that if it's a polished product in a desirable area, we call it an A+ listing, it's usually going to go within the first week, especially if it's priced well. I can tell you this market is not for the aspirational seller. Those days are gone. For those people that are out there that think that I can get, above market value just because they have a notion, or the wind went the right way that day, or because Zillow gave them incorrect data. The properties that are aspirationally priced, they're sitting, and they're going to continue to sit until they fall in line with what the market is willing to pay. And the only way you find that out is by taking the appropriate price reductions. But, where buyer apprehension plays into effect is that, if you've got a buyer that's looking, in a pristine, sought after area, yes, you might be experiencing a more competitive situation, and that's just not going to change. If you're looking at Arcadia, certain areas of Scottsdale, Willow, Canto, Roosevelt, some of these areas, PV, are still selling like hotcakes. So be prepared to be competitive, be prepared to act quickly. You know, you can't hem and haw. My best recommendation is that, you know, if your agent or us are telling you to go get your pre-qualification paperwork taken care of, get that done timely. You can't write an offer without it, and you definitely needed to be ready to go in this market. Now, in some of the outlying areas, you might have a little bit more time. Concessions are still a thing. Yes, you could still get money from a seller to help buy down your closing costs and or rate buy down and so forth. But, you know, Phoenix is still moving and grooving. You know, the data is there. We're still busy. You know, I know that there's been a lot of crazy stuff in the news this spring, and that certainly you know, gives way to apprehension and concern and fear and so forth of what's going to happen in the future. But look, the population is still growing. People are still buying homes. There's still a need. So if you are interested in buying, reach out to us, Stephen Ensign and Jessica Nixon at the S&J Real Estate Team here at WM Partners. We're here to help you out. You know, guidance and pre-planning, I can't stress that enough. You know, take some time to put some thought into pre-planning the process with your agent. Hopefully that's us. And you know, it's our job to smooth out the bumps in the road. You know, if you it's our job to help you calm those fears, walk through the process, educate you, and manage those expectations on your side and as well as the other side, so that we can get you across the goal line. Hey, hope you're having a great day. I know these are rough YouTube starts, but you know, sometimes the honest steering wheel conversation and the truth is sometimes the best video of them all. Hey, talk to you later.